Welcome back to Face of Parkinson's. I'm your host, Robert Cochran, and today joining me is Dr. David Simon. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
It's very nice to have met you. We spoke a little bit, or I should say we emailed previously about this program I'm doing about improv with Parkinson's, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But if you would briefly tell me about where you are, what you are doing with Parkinson's, and maybe something you're excited about in the field right now.
Sure. Well, I'm a neurologist. I'm the head of our Parkinson's Disease and Movement Disorder Center here at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center and Harvard Medical School. Professor of neurology. I see patients, do clinical trials mostly focused on neuroprotection, trying to slow progression of Parkinson's, and also run a laboratory looking at translational studies, trying to better understand what causes progression.
Excellent. And is there anything, and we just throw it out there, you don't have to have a big answer for it, but is there anything you're onto right now? You're like, this is an interesting bit of research. This is something, an insight I've had, something that I know a lot of the audience likes to hear about what's going on.
Right. I mean, there's a lot I'm excited about. Although I have to always qualify that to say that not everything I was excited about in the past turned out to be as great as I'd hoped. But I do think there's a lot of ways in which we're getting closer to making some substantial changes in how we treat Parkinson's. One example of that would be immunotherapy trials. Using our own immune systems to try to target abnormal proteins, but we can talk more about that later if you like. I'm involved in a couple of the studies, so that's, I guess, suppose a caveat. Although I suppose I'm biased anyways as a neurologist wanting these studies to work.
Excellent. Well, I would like to talk more about them. Maybe when I come and visit you, which I'm looking forward to doing in July, bringing our program out there and get to see more of your lab. So we'll look then. Let me ask you this. When I proposed and when it came to you about this improv with Parkinson's, what did you think and why did you respond positively? Because I think it's a greid thing, but I'd love to hear your feedback on that.
Yeah, there's a few different ways. I suppose, my background is I grew up just outside Chicago and loved going to Second City and watch the amazing improv they would do live there. Actually, at the Parkinson Foundation annual meeting, not the most recent one, but a prior one, they had a improv demonstration as therapy for Parkinson's patients. So I sort of got a little introduction to the kind of work you're doing, and it looks very interesting. We hold a program called Calling All Artists here, where we get together Parkinson's patients who do art of various kinds. This is run by Lissa Kappas, one social worker here, and that's been very popular. And this is sort of another art, performing art form that I could imagine could be both fun and beneficial for Parkinson's patients.
Yes, and fortunate to have been introduced to Lissa as well, so I'll look forward to speaking further to her about the specifics within the program. When we get out there, I hope if you're available to come to the workshop. If not, I'll have more research for you then, and the idea is basically to plant a seed to make it more available, to more in the community. I spoke with a gentleman who runs Rocksteady Boxing out there, and he spoke very highly of you, and also about his interest in the program, just saying the idea really is to help engage not just the people with Parkinson's, but the care partners, the medical and the wellness groups, to have greater communication between all, because I think there's just no line where we don't all suffer a little bit from communication issues, and within that's somewhere where improv can have a real positive benefit.
Sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning more about it, and I'd love to be able to see it. We'll see if I can, but I'd really love to.
Well, and let me ask you this: you're in Boston, and this is slightly related, but to the overall, because our background, as I think is my dad who has Parkinson's, and he and I went to all 30 Major League ballparks. Are you a baseball fan by chance?
Off and on. But it's hard. We're of course, Beth Israel Deaconess is the official hospital of the Boston Red Sox. We're just down the street from them, and so it's hard not to get caught up in it a little bit. But
yeah, well, the energy, and I mean they've gone from being kind of the sad sack team that couldn't get it done to now being perennial winners. So it's an interesting thing, and I love seeing how that plays out, because there's fans that have Parkinson's that come forward to the ball games, and they bring themselves to it, and it lets them kind of, again, in a social, interactive way, get past maybe some of the frustrations of the moment of their day-to-day life, I've found.
Yeah, that's interesting. Of course, we've never used our association with the Red Sox for our Parkinson's program, but that's an interesting idea there. Maybe we should. So.
Yeah, hey, wait a minute. I know a guy now. Can you get me tickets for the game?
Actually, people with BI Deaconess ID, if there's unsold tickets, can still get them after the first inning. So
We're going to have to talk further about that. That's good.
Make friends with people with the BIDMC ID.
Okay, good. Let's keep talking about that. Good. So when we get out there, what can I look forward to seeing in your laboratory? Is there anything that maybe I should prepare for? Any research I should look at so that I'm well versed in what you'll be showing or sharing with me?
Sure. I think with the patients, I often talk more about the clinical trials that we do rather than the research in my lab, partly because it's work that's closer to potentially having an impact on patients' lives. The work in the lab is a step back where we're still testing in animal models. And I focus a lot on mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondria are like the energy factories of our cells, and there's a lot of genetic and environmental and other data that implicate mitochondrial dysfunction in Parkinson's. And we're looking at a particular molecule that is very important in regulating mitochondria and also antioxidant defenses. And we think that may be a therapeutic target. So we're understanding how that molecule is regulated and how we can manipulate it in a way that ultimately might have an impact in the clinic, though we're still far away.
You're right on. I know I hear that from my dad frequently and other people I talk to with Parkinson's. They are always encouraged by the fact that research is happening, but they want to know, so what's in it for me today? What can I get involved with? What might have an impact on my quality of life today? So whatever we could look at in that regard and I could help share in improv terms, yes, and I'd like to do it.
Sure. Yeah, sounds good. But still, I can show you, introduce you to some of the people in the lab who are actually doing the work and introduce you to our clinical coordinators and other people involved in the clinical trials we're doing. That also, these clinical trials that are most exciting, I think, well, to me and to the patients, are the ones that might have an impact sooner, are multi-center efforts. They're usually not ones that could be done by even one center. But we can show you how we're involved and which studies we're doing and how they ultimately might impact care if they prove successful.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's good. Well, I thank you so much for your time in this initial conversation. It'll be the first of, I hope, many to come. It's very nice to have met you via Skype here and on Faces of Parkinson's. So anything I left out that you wanted to get in before we go for this time? And again, there'll be time for more later.
Well, no, just to say back on the issue of, hope for the future, again, my focus has been on slowing progression, and we've had a lot of failed trials, but I really think we're getting closer. And I think despite having many trials that failed, I think the trials that are upcoming are getting better each time. So I just want to end with a message of hope that, the research is ongoing and we're not lacking in leads, and not everything's going to work, but we're, I think, likely to find ways to really change the treatment.
I appreciate you saying that because, again, just my dad, with the message of where we started in 2004, where people were so hot on stem cell at the time and thought the cure was within 10 years and very confident. When that didn't pan out, I think that left a lot of people, well, I can say for my dad for sure, feeling shortchanged because of the assuredness that was with that. There's nothing sure in science. We know that. However, there's a great method, and certainly we're fans of, and may well be pursuing my own PhD here in kinesiology to do Improv's effect on Parkinson's in the fall. So hopefully joining your field very soon.
That sounds great. Good luck with that.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you for your time, and we'll talk more soon, okay?
Sounds great. Bye-bye.
Right. For Faces of Parkinson's, I'm Robert Cochran. We'll see you next time.